A lawyer stands before Jesus with a trick question. Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? But this isn't a sincere seeker, this is a trap. Luke tells us plainly, he wanted to test Jesus. When Jesus turns the question back on him, the lawyer gives the perfect Sunday school answer, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus says, you have answered rightly. Do this and live. But then comes the moment that exposes every human heart. The lawyer, wanting to justify himself, asks the question that reveals his true motive, and who is my neighbor? He's looking for limits. Boundaries. Someone he can exclude from his love. Someone he doesn't have to care about. And Jesus responds with a story that will shatter every barrier, challenge every prejudice, and expose the difference between knowing truth and living truth. Jesus tells the story, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. This 17-mile journey was notorious for bandits who hid in the rocky terrain. Now by chance a priest came down that road. And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. A priest. A man of God. But he crosses to the other side. Likewise a Levite, when he arrived at the place, came and looked, and passed by on the other side. The Levite actually stops to look, then deliberately avoids helping. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was. And when he saw him, he had compassion. Jesus makes the despised Samaritan the hero of his story. The Samaritan bandages his wounds, puts him on his own animal, takes him to an inn, cares for him all night, and pays the innkeeper 2 denarii, 2 days' wages, promising to pay whatever else is needed. Jesus asks, so which of these 3 do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? The lawyer cannot even say the Samaritan, he answers, he who showed mercy on him. Jesus responds, go and do likewise. Here's what most people miss, this wasn't just about being nice to strangers. Jesus chose his characters deliberately to expose the lawyer's heart. The priest and Levite had legitimate concerns. Touching a dead body would make them ceremonially unclean for 7 days, preventing them from temple service. Their religious duties seemed to conflict with human need. But Jesus is teaching that mercy trumps ceremony every time. Even more shocking, Jesus made a Samaritan the hero. To Jewish ears, this was scandalous. Samaritans were considered heretical half-breeds who had corrupted worship on Mount Gerizim. The listeners expected the third traveler to be a regular Jewish layman who would shame the religious leaders. Instead, Jesus makes their enemy the example of righteousness. The lawyer asked, who is my neighbor, trying to find limits to his obligation. Jesus flips the question, to whom will you be a neighbor? It's not about finding people you're required to help, it's about becoming someone who helps anyone in need. The story continues in Bethany. Jesus enters the village and a woman named Martha receives him into her house. She has a sister called Mary, who sits at Jesus' feet and hears his word. But Martha is distracted with much serving, and she comes to Jesus saying, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore tell her to help me. Jesus answers gently, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things. But one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her. Notice that Jesus uses the same Greek word agathos for Mary's good part that he used for the Good Samaritan. Both the Samaritan and Mary chose what was truly good. The Samaritan chose mercy over convenience. Mary chose intimacy over activity. Both understood that love for God must be expressed, sometimes through serving others, sometimes through sitting at his feet. The animals who witnessed these events understood something profound about the nature of true love and service.
I carried that wounded man to safety on my back. The Samaritan could have left me behind to travel faster, but he chose mercy over speed.
I've watched humans serve their whole lives, grinding grain, pulling plows. But Martha's service had anxiety in it. Mary's stillness had more strength than all my laboring.
The Spirit shows me truth. Humans think they must choose between action and worship. But love does both, serves when needed, sits when called. The Good Samaritan and Mary both chose love.
That priest passed by carrying all his rules about clean and unclean. But mercy makes things clean, not the other way around.
The lawyer wanted to limit his love. Who is my neighbor? As if love has boundaries. Even we animals know that need calls for help, not questions.
These connected stories teach us about the heart God desires. The lawyer wanted to justify himself, to find the minimum requirement for love. But Jesus shows that love has no limits and no barriers. The Good Samaritan crossed racial, religious, and social boundaries to show mercy. He didn't ask if the wounded man deserved help or if helping might be inconvenient. He saw need and responded with costly compassion. Mary chose intimacy with Jesus over the endless demands of activity. Martha's service was good, but her anxiety made it a burden instead of a joy. Both service and worship are necessary, but worship must come first. When we sit at Jesus' feet and receive His love, we can then serve others from overflow, not obligation. Today, examine your heart honestly. Are you looking for limits to your love? Are you serving from anxiety or from the abundance of having been with Jesus? Cross the barriers. Show mercy to those society tells you to avoid. Balance your service with sitting at His feet. This is the good part that cannot be taken away. Join us next time as we continue our journey from Genesis to Revelation. Until then, remember, true love serves without limits and worships without distraction. May you choose the good part that cannot be taken away. Subscribe for more Bible study content.